Hello, and welcome back to 6 Plus Plus. My name is Ben, and today we're back with another event report. This time we're going to be discussing my run at the Summer ITT and what led me to go 5-0, undefeated at a 2-day event. So let's get into it. I love this shirt, by the way. The new blue shirt, top tier, boys, top tier. Anyway, moving on. So the list I took was as follows: a Reaper's Wager Drukhari list. We had the Archon as our Warlord with the Arch Raider enhancement. We have one Beastmaster unit, Lilith Hesperax, Urian Rakarth, 10 Kabalite Warriors, 10 Witches, a Raider, 2 Venoms, Court of the Archon, Kronos, 2 Mandrakes, 2 Ravagers with Dart Lances, 2 Scourge, all with Haywires, and 3 units of 2 Talos with Haywire, Liquefiers, and Talos Gauntlets. So, theory behind this list was it can play into a plethora of vehicle-heavy matchups with all the Haywire and Dart Lancers in the list. But alongside that, when it inevitably gets pushed away from a vehicle-heavy matchup, it does also have a reasonable time into like an anti-melee type matchup, as you'll probably see on the run upcoming. It's fairly thick and chunky, so it shouldn't die as easily, which does help Matrix it a little bit better. And hopefully, you're not just going to get blown out in every game if something goes wrong. Obviously, I've gone for the split the Kabalites down to go with the Court in the Raider with the Archon, but I've seen a few people go in double Beast Pack and Deep Strike Court of the Archon, or not taking Court of the Archon at all, which is a consideration for the Imperial Knights matchup, where you don't want to throw your Warlord out there too early. So if he dies, it doesn't give them the 5-up feel no pain super quick. Just means that they can use an Archon a little bit more defensively, whereas the Court in the Knights matchup is probably wanting to go a little bit more aggressively. So that was the list. So let's meet the team. So this is the team I went with. I was on the Legion team for the weekend. So we had we have our Captain Jack in the middle there. This is Jack here. He was on Death Guard, the Virulent Vectorum detachment. We have myself on Drukhari in the Reaper's Wager. We have Joe on the end there on Chaos Space Marine Renegade Raiders Good Stuff. Steve next to Joe and Jack there. On his Chaos Knights Infernal Lance, a couple of bigs, some smalls. It was a pretty solid list. And then we have Patrick in between me and Jack there on Dark Angels Wrath of the Rock. Again, all Dark Angels good stuff. So we're pretty happy with the team comp. It's fairly solid. It does a good bit of anti-melee, a good bit of pushing. You've got a solid win output hopefully there from the Death Guard and the CK. So we're pretty happy with that team comp. And we'll just dive into the Matrix very, very briefly. So this is sort of how we Matrixed it for the weekend. So I'm in the middle here. I've got a very confident looking Matrix, which is all fun and games unless you don't meet Matrix. But the way this Matrix works is you are labeling it from each matchup from a 1 to a 5 with some of the most common matchups and list archetypes in the game. So 1 is very bad, so you're probably going to get 20'd. 2 is bad, so it's going to be a reasonable loss, like a 15 loss. 3 is drawish, so 10-10, or a flip. So it could go really well for you, or if you go first, or it's really bad if you don't go first, that sort of thing. 4 is a good win, so sort of 15 plus, 12 plus I'd say actually, and very good. It's like you're probably going to get in that upper echelons, like the 18, 19, 20 point win on the differential scoring for the teams. So that was the Matrix. Yeah, as I say, I went in with quite a confident Matrix there. Sorry, I've just realised my face is blocking off down here. It's all yellows behind there, so don't worry too much. Whether that shows confidence as a player, confidence in the faction, I'm not sure. I think going into it, there's a real possibility that Drukhari aren't great in teams. I think slightly better in a 5-man team environment where you can pair them into a more favourable matchup slightly easier. But beyond that, I think this is reflecting more player confidence for me than actual faction sort of ability, as it were. So let's get on to the rounds. So round 1, we were playing versus flat caps and flat cannons. This mission, of course, was UKTC Mission 1. The primary was Terraform, and I ended up getting drawn into the Blood Angels. So ideally, we were trying to get me into sort of night vehicle heavy matchups, but where we couldn't, a nice melee match that I can use my anti-melee. So I got a couple of fights first. I got fight on death as an option, and so I got Christian's Blood Angels in Liberator Assault Group. His list was, I think, 3 units of Sangard, 2 big bricks of Death Company. He had a Gladiator Lancer, a couple of JPIs, some scouts, and just other fill-in scoring stuff. This game for me, I went second in every game, so that was ideal. So I went second. I sort of set up fairly defensively. Was aware that he could charge me turn 1 and touch things if he really wanted to. So I had 1 unit of Talos in reserves ready to react where it needed to. The other 2 and Urian and stuff that sort of sit in this this sort of block in the middle here. I deployed my Court the Archon, my Beastmaster here. So they could go and block this sort of charge point with the Mandrakes sort of inch off in the wall here as well. He had deployed a lot of his Death Company and stuff behind here, ready to sort of do that jump over and go. I had my Scouting Raider here, so he could scout up turn 1, touch this and sticky it hopefully for my turn 1, which is exactly what it did. And I also blocked out an inch off the wall with the Mandrakes here. So we did scout up, even though we didn't go first, and then we scouted the Beastmaster here just to block off like loads of things getting tagged in there. So he sent Mephiston, he sent some Death Company, both units died. He Death Company with -1 damage is great, but when you've got the 4 Talos sat behind, it didn't go particularly well for Christian. And I think the long and short of this game is he traded down the whole time. He didn't send everything at once. He sent it in bits, which allowed me to deal with it a hell of a lot easier. I got off some terraforms nice and early. So I just took a fairly dominant lead on that primary position. About turn 2, 3, I was getting sort of predictions coming down from the rest of the board. That I think Steve was not doing all that well into the Tyranids matchup. So it was sort of push time, which I'd had my court set over here, ready to go make a push for his primary, his home primary. Because I mean, ideally, I was sort of hoping for like a 12 out of this matchup. So sort of made a push for his home, take that off of him and sticky it, and hopefully, essentially try and table him at that point. Which it did, push it to a 16-4. Unfortunately, it did end up in a round loss. We lost 33-67. It was a great first game, but, you know, as a group of lads that haven't played together before, it wasn't a bad first run, first round for us. I think a little bit into pairings, so, you know, we didn't quite appreciate the Tyranids matchup into the Chaos Knights. It was Invasion Fleet with Rupture Fexes and Exocrines and the new Raveners. And I don't think we appreciated quite how good those Raveners could be with lethals into Chaos Knights. And again, the Sisters had a lot more fight phase control than I think we'd initially interpreted from looking at the list in Hallowed Martyrs. So that was a bit of a rough pairing time for us, but something, you know, we got better with as the event went on. So that was round 1. Round 2. So this is Crucible of Battle, Purge the Foe. Now, Purge the Foe is interesting because it makes my matrix drop about two points either way. So, you know, here playing into Tau, I'm probably predicting about 15. I went second, so I'm feeling pretty confident about that. But because it's Persia Foe, I have to drop that differential because he's always going to get kill 1, hold 1, most likely. I don't see a way with all the guns he had. It was triple Riptide, triple Hammerhead, triple Broadside, triple Stealth Suits, Ghost Keel, and then Infantry Chaff, basically. So there's a lot of shooting. It could do some damage, and he had about 36 shots of indirect, which was not particularly helpful because even Tau indirect can kill a silly little Dark Elf model. So I did start a unit of Talos in reserves again, and both Scourge were off the board. So in this matchup, we got Drukhari into Tau. We got Death Guard into Chaos Knights, into their Chaos Knights, and they put their Chaos Knights into, and we put our Chaos Knights into their Death Guard as well. We got our Dark Angels into Imperial Knights, and CSM into Thousand Suns. This was the redacted B team we were playing. Great group of guys. They've got some really solid players on their team. We've got Ben Pennington, JP Morgan, and a few other folk as well. But I had lovely Wayne. So as I say, Wayne went first. He got a pretty duff secondary draw, assassinating no prisoners. So he basically deleted a unit of mandrakes, and then shot a load of indirect into Urian Rakoth, and Urian didn't die. Shock horror, who knew? So that was fine. And then sort of turn 2, he had a big push to try and get me. He couldn't actually get me on turn 2, but if he stayed back much longer, I was just going to start controlling that board. So he put a few Riptides out in the middle, at which point my Scourge arrived from reserves, everything else arrives from reserves, and I just completely clear out the middle. So I think end of this game he was left with a Riptide and a Broadside. So it was an interesting match. Persia Foe just makes it so much sketchier, but I absolutely couldn't play into their Death Guard. Their Death Guard was a vehicle heavy matchup, but it was Hammer with triple PVCs, which was really, really rough. If I get that on Persia Foe, he just wins that game. But across the board, so our Death Guard, so I got 13-7 out of this game. Our Death Guard lost into Chaos Knights 7-13. Our Chaos Knights lost into Death Guard 3-17. Our Dark Angels lost versus Imperial Knights 6-14, and our CSM drew versus the Thousand Suns 10-10. So again, player skill maybe comes into this a little bit here, I think. They had some really, really good players. I think we had some newer guys on some newer armies. And they were tough pairings. There's nothing, can't really argue about that. It's a good team comp. They made it difficult for us, and I couldn't get into either of the Knights, which probably was slightly more ideal than the Tau. But the Tau was very much tech to taking out Knights also. They had very good Knight tech in there, I have to say. But it was a good round, and another good win by me. But we are hunting. We said before this event, as Legion, we're like, ideally we'd like to do a 3-2. So we're getting a bit panicky now. Well, I don't normally get nervous, but we were starting to get nervous. So round 3 rolls in. Now round 3, we're against the Cohort of Ignorance. Lovely team, great guys. And I get Rob and his Custodes. His Custodes was Shield Host. He had 2 Guardian bricks, a Warden brick, Valerian and Alea with some sisters, and 2 Blade Champions, a tank, and some Terminators and some bikes. So he had a bit of everything in the list. This is on hidden supplies, so it's all about controlling the midboard, which Custodes as an army generally are pretty good at doing. Again, I've gone second here. He positioned his Wardens far too far back for them to be relevant in this game, which means when I get a chance to go, I've got to pick up everything that's not a Warden, so then all he has left is the Wardens, and I can just collapse my whole army onto it. So what happens is he goes first, he does some standard scoring bits, I do my try and kill the sister bits off, chuck Urian in the middle and a Kronos in the middle, and bait out some Custodian Guard squads and the tank and such. Once they're baited out, we just full send everything. The whole army collapses on it. Kill everything that's in front of us, or most of what's in front of us, and push on for a pretty solid win from there. I denied a lot of primary for this guy, and he was tabled by turn 4, which was pretty unfortunate for Rob. A cute little anecdote here, though. So he referred to me as the UK Scary, which I think that's a pretty solid. I'll take that. That's a nice compliment. I like that. I did sort of say to him, I was like, I think his wardens needed to be more present in this matchup, and just given the amount of damage 3 dev wounds I've got, he could have absolutely tanked some of that and then start chopping into some Talos quite quickly, which is where a lot of the damage was coming from here for him, which he wasn't super experienced with. But yeah, so we got another good win here, solid 18-2 for the team. And we got pairings pretty spot on for this one. So our Death Guard versus the Votan got an 11-9, which is sort of what we're expecting the Death Guard to do. Death Guard is going to sit there and get small wins the whole round, hopefully, which is pretty much what they've done the whole time now. We got our Chaos Knights into their Death Guard. Now Steve was a bit reluctant to play Death Guard again, but he absolutely smashed it this time. He went in. He's got a good lay of the land with the Death Guard now and wins 12-8. Our Dark Angels versus Tyranids. Again, Dark Angels just trying to blunt a bad matchup. It was tunnels nids, so uppy downy silliness and tunnels everywhere, 6-inch deep strikes, good combat. And he got 5-15 versus that. So Patrick scrapping for the points again for us, trying to blunt bad matchups for the rest of us. And then Joe on his CSM versus the World Eaters. Was it ever going to be a question? Joe was just going to smash these World Eaters, knock them off the board, win 17-3. So we got a really solid round win here of 63-37, and we finally got a win on the board. So this is good. This is how we wanted to end in day one on a win. Was perfect. So we've got sort of dinner the evening. We went out to Las Iguanas. The whole team was there from Alfarius, Omegon, and Legion. Everyone there having a good old time and a bit of food. And then we all hit the sack, ready for the next day, ready for our next pairing. So round 4, we have the Hobby Henchmen team 4. I stuck with Roman numerals. I think that's team 4. Please someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. This is on Linchpin, so another one where No Man's Land is really quite important. On this Dawn of War matchup, there's a lot of open firing lanes into like deployment zones here. So if you have fast gun, pretty good on this one. There's not a lot of staging for you to like. It's actually quite hard to get yourself staged into here without like having to sit here first, ready to hop onto that. So I've got a second here. They put down Astra Militarum as their first defender. Now I'm salivating at this prospect. So we put me and Steve on the Chaos Knights down into Astra Militarum, and he picked away from Steve. He picked me. Now, I was playing Dicky. Dicky had a Hellhammer. He was playing in Hammer of the Emperor. He's got Lord Solar. He's got a couple of infantry units, 2 Dawns, 2 Russes, 2 Russ commanders, and the Hellhammer. He's got a lot of tank on this board, which is ideal for me. There was a question of whether I go fixed here, but honestly, I think the CP is probably just more useful. From recycling cards, and there's a chance that if I have a really bad bounce turn or I expose lots of stuff, I'm then dead and I can't kill his tanks. Whereas I'm pretty confident I can outscore him just with my mobility and speed, mandrakes, uppy downy, and all that good stuff. So he's deployed his Hellhammer at the back here, a couple of tanks. He's got a couple of tanks in reserves. He goes first, gets some good secondaries, puts an infantry unit out in the middle to score something or another. I reply in kind by sending Beastpack and Urian into the middle, and we wipe that infantry unit off the board. And that is pretty much his sort of scoring piece is gone. He puts Hellhound down his right flank. So it's sitting here ready to start pushing into my Scourge. I had a unit of Scourge here on my in my deployment zone, ready to sort of tackle anything that was trying to deal with the expansion. I scouted the Raider back here. I've got some Talos sitting here. Lilith sat here in a Venom, ready to sort of advance up to here, hopefully, get herself in. Again, I've got a Ravager and another unit of Scourge here, so if he tries to push some tanks down this flank, I'm ready to respond to that as well. So yeah, I push out. We kill a couple of tanks on the right flank here. I throw 5 idiot witches, 40 points of OC2 on this objective. He responds by bringing in some more tanks and pushing out. I get a nice little ingress here with some Talos to go and deal with his Gaunt's Ghost unit, the uppy downy silliness. So I put my Talos here, rapid ingress them. He's then got nothing. After he's positioned everything on this flank to try and deal with Talos that are potentially coming out here and make that a little bit dangerous for me. Talos then push up, take on Gaunt's Ghost, wipe them out. He shoots his entire Hellhammer, the Baneblade, into Urian Rakarth, and he just stands there. He doesn't care. Urian's a boss. He does die to a Dawn, though, that shoots him shortly afterwards, so, fine. He stands back up again, so he's fine. He's still in the middle. And the game goes on like that. He's just trading down the whole time. He has some really bad shooting phases. There's a turn where turn 3, I've got all 6 Talos exposed. They're in the mid-board, and there is a very real possibility here that he picks up all 6, which wasn't disastrous for me at the point we were in at the game, but he didn't kill a single Talos. And that was just awful. It just rolls the game on from there. Great little anecdote at the end here, though, is he draws Bring It Down on a Challenger card. Challenger card being kill something, Bring It Down be kill a vehicle. And this basically pretty much denies him getting 20'd. So what he does is he only has Slime Arbo left. Rambo himself. Rambo in the 40k units. He looks at this Ravager. He shoots the Ravager. He throws a grenade at the Ravager. And he punches the Ravager to death in the end. And I'm like, in what world should that happen? Slime Arbo just one taps a Ravager. The answer is everywhere, because it's Slime Arbo. It's exactly what he should be doing. Got his knife out, cut the sails of my Ravager, down it went, and there was a nice little 8-point swing to deny him sort of getting 19-20'd on that round. So yeah, pretty solid game from him. He played it really well, and a good round for us overall, actually. Our Death Guard versus their CSM got 14-6. Our Chaos Knights versus Ultramarines, 14-6 again as well. So we've got 3 decent wins coming at this point. Joe then records a 10-10 into the Chaos Knights, and Patrick on his Dark Angels gets a 10-10 versus Virulent Vectorum, -1 damage, silly sticky objective Death Guard, which was fantastic effort from Patrick there. He played out of his skin on that to pull that back to a 10-10. So overall we end up with a round win. So it was a 66-34 win. So we're 2-2 at this point. We are excited. With the 3-2 is within this grasping distance. But some news comes in. The 6++ Alfarius team has paired into 6++ Amagon. So there is a chance here where if these guys draw their round, we finish as the best 6++ team if we win. If not, we're definitely leapfrogging at least one of those teams, and we're finishing in a very good spot in comparison to those teams. So we get our pairing, and it is Death Corps of Queen's Road, Team Alpha Super Awesome Cool Dynamite Wolf Squadron. Now, this is a team, obviously, as you guys might know by now, I'm not a permanent member of 6++. I'm 6++ adjacent. My team is Trash Wargaming. Now, we're based in Leicester. And Death Corps of Queen Road are also based in Leicester. There are sort of friendly local rivals, and we always have a bit of a giggle, a bit of banter. So getting paired into these guys, I took it personally. We needed to win this round. I could not go back to my Trash boys and say, nope, we lost. We lost to Death Corps. So I got a bit of prior knowledge on some of their players. They've also got prior knowledge on me as well. We've played a lot together. There was one matchup I didn't want, which was the Tau matchup, and that is because Phil on Tau lives rent-free in my head. Even though it should be a good matchup, he wins the mental game every time. Plus 6-inch deep striking flamers is horrible for uppy downy flamer suits. It's just horrendous as a T3 body player. So we put me down as first defender because I can at least pair away from the Tau then. And I'm expecting them to give me Tau and Aspect Host Eldar. They don't give me Tau and Orcs. Orcs is fine. I'm okay with Orcs. I've got enough anti-melee in there. Granted, if he full sends turn 1, I'm probably getting 20. I'm going to really struggle to pull myself out of that because it's quite hard to start that fight first on the board out of the transport. There's probably a way you can do it where you jiggle around a few things where Orion just goes in the Raider, so you have your Cohort on the board. And again, like you maybe put the other 5 witches in the Venom, so Lilith starts on the board too. So you've got some options for a bit of fight first there. And then you've got Vecton, so fight and death, just you don't have to worry about. But it's a squeaky matchup. I certainly think so anyway. It's a squeaky matchup, and he's got a lot of boys. So he's got 2 battle wagons with 20 boys and 2 characters in each. He's got some 2 trucks with some flash kits and tank busters, I want to say. Some form of shooty orc that is potentially pretty good into me as well. Some grot units. He's got Gaz and some Mega Knobs in big armor or whatever they're called. I don't know. He's got some Beast Snagger boys in a truck as well with a Beast Boss. I think that's about it from the list. I think that's the Storm boys as well, which are starting reserves. So again, I've gone second here, and I am sweating because of the potential here. If Martin pushes this right, I am run over turn 1, and that is game. I've deployed myself in a way that hopefully he can't just get in everywhere and touch things I don't want him to touch. But he's got his battle wagons sat here, so they can just send something out if he was turn 1 as well. Advance and charge, hopefully get him some stuff around. I have lined off the walls with Mandrake, so hopefully it makes it a little bit more hard for him to get to, but it is potentially quite scary. So what he does is he stages his battle wagons in the middle here, and I see this as an opportunity because this is the only chance I'm going to get to drop these boys without a fight on death, get them out of there, get the trucks gone, get all 40 boys gone in a turn, and give me a real edge in this matchup at that point, because then his sort of primary denial's gone. He's got a few other little units, but I feel a hell of a lot more confident into them. So I bring everything. The whole army comes out. It all emerges from behind walls. We've got Ravagers coming out. Everything is just looking down these firing lines, or down this firing line, to potentially kill some grots off of this as well, and kill a truck here. So we one-tap a battle wagon with 1 unit of Scourge, and then we get the other battle wagon as well with some Scourges, some Talos and whatnot. And then we start doing all of our shooting into the boys, kill as many boys as we can, and then we charge everything into the boys. I'm able to charge the boys behind... he careened with an exploding battle wagon, which is not ideal. So you could get a lot of boys behind my wall here, because my Mandrakes had gone off at this point. They'd picked themselves up. They didn't want to be sat in the middle of that silliness. I did take a few mortal wounds, so I lost all of Lilith's witches. I took 3 wounds on Irian Rakov, took 6 wounds on my court, which kind of sucked. But it was enough. It was fine. I still had stuff going. I still had fights first. It was all hunky-dory, guys. So yeah, I've managed to charge the boys here with a few bits in the court and whatnot. Lilith and Urian have gone into the remainder of boys and characters here. I've mopped up the lot, and I've killed a truck as well over here, emptied some stuff out of that. So that was ideal. And this is where I think Martin then gets himself in a bit of a head tangle, because he's trying to work his way around Vect. And we did discuss all this at the start of the game. It's not like a gotcha or anything. But he was getting himself confused with Urian standing back up with him being so tough with having the Vectora, with the court forgetting that they have fights first, and Vectora also. So he brings some stuff up. Gaz comes out. He gets the Beast Snagger boys out. I ingress my Talos here. He clears up the Talos in the middle here. That's fine. I've still got Beast Pack alive and stuff like that. Lilith dies. Urian dies for the first time. He does charge the court with the fights first. I kill them down to the character. Character then just one taps the Archon apparently, and I was like, right, sure. Taps like 4 models in the Archon that's remaining. I was like, okay, that feels like it shouldn't happen, but here we are. He has Ward this turn as well, I should say. Seeing sort of how quickly I mopped up that sort of half of his army. But then, yeah, in kind, I clap back and I kill all of these things in the middle here, and that is really game from there. So I'm pushing for a 20 here. He gets some challenger cards. He hangs on just long enough to tip himself over the 50-point mark to deny me that 20. So it does end up in 19-1. It was a really solid game from Martin. As I say, I think the early staging perhaps was a little bit wrong. But again, perhaps not understanding quite how quickly I could pick up the battle wagons and all the boys inside. But with all the flamers and all the combat and everything, it's a possibility that can happen. And then the Vect and Urian mistake. No, I think it changes all too much about the game at that point, because realistically we're scrapping for points trying to deny a 20 at that point. But yeah, it was. It's an interesting one, sending your whole army out turn 1. But if the opportunity presents itself, and it's the only way you're going to make the game safe, because otherwise those battle wagons are just sending boys at me in a war turn, and that's not ideal. I don't need a bucket of dice rolling at every single one of my units. I need to manage that quite quickly, which was sort of what I seen with the board state. And I was like, right, no, we've got to shut that down immediately. Get out of here. Get out. Get off my board. So that was that game for me. It was pretty solid. I've looked over. Steve's doing some nasty things to the Dark Angels with his Chaos Knights. He's sent turn 1. He's killed the lion turn 1 somehow. I don't even know. I was just like, Steve, that's nasty. Leave the lion alone. Our Dark Angels player unfortunately fell on the sword one more time and took the Aspect Host Eldar. It was a matchup that I sort of wanted to blunt for the rest of the team, but then I don't know if the Orcs was probably... It feels like a better pick for the rest of the team. But I was confident I could get at least a 10 out of the Aspect Host Eldar. Whether that's a naive confidence, I don't know. But it was a confidence nonetheless. I thought I could blunt that matchup for them and hopefully deny them sort of a big win. But we blunt it in other ways by just getting a big win anyway. Then our Death Guard versus their CSM gets a 10-10 draw, and I think we basically need 9 points from Joe at this point. We've fed that down to win the round. And Joe just comes back to us and goes, it's fine, I've got a 15. So that is a round win. So we've gone 3-2 as a team here, which we're really, really pleased about. Unfortunately, Alfarius has beat Amagon, so we finish sort of second of 6++ teams. Unfortunately, Amagon's bad luck with parents continues, so I've been told. And yeah, so that was the end of the event. So we finished 3-2. So we finished 20th out of the 64 teams. I've gone 5-0 for the first time ever with Drukhari. Woo! And I ended up, so once the final round's been submitted, the top cut, which I think was won by Carnage, congratulations, Team Carnage. I've ended up finishing 9th out of all in individual player placings. And that's basically only behind Alex Gins, who just 20, he just got 100 points from the whole event anyway, which is crazy. And everyone else above us made it to the top cut. So I'm really, really pleased about that. Alfarius ended up finishing 11th, so us 20th, and Amagon 28th. And then, yeah, there's my run. It's not 360 players, it's 320 players. I'm really bad at maths, apparently, sometimes, which probably doesn't bode well for a team's environment when you're looking for differentials and matrices and stuff. But yeah, that was my first ever 5-0, so I was really, really pleased with that. And I honestly had a great time with the team. The team was fantastic, and hopefully the Palouse will have me back playing on their teams again in the future. Let us see what this space says. So with regards to the list, I don't know if I necessarily change anything for a singles environment. So I've got a few more events coming up before the end of the UKTC season. So I've got coming up pretty shortly a small GT in Nuneaton. I've got the 6++ GT, the southern version. I've got a 1-day RTT a couple of weeks before LGT, and then we've got the big event itself, LGT. So a few more events to get some points on the board, hopefully solidify my #1 spot on the UKTC rankings for Drukhari. But for now, I think the list is in a pretty solid place. I think it bodes well into a lot of the meta. Now, I appreciate there's probably going to be a slate coming out at some point in the not so too distant future. I think it's early September sort of time. So we'll see if that changes the list. But I think this works well in this list works well in a singles meta and a teams meta. Now, no, Drukhari not exactly ideal for teams because you can pair away from those good matchups, and it's relatively easy to pair around them, I think, particularly if you don't have a couple of. The idea of them is to push that and something else into a vehicle heavy matchup. They push away from the Drukhari, give it to the something else that's probably actually better at doing the anti-vehicle matchup than you are, and then you get sort of dregs of whatever's left, which I think can be an interesting and tough place to be. But I like the list. The list is solid. It scores well. It plays into a wide variety of things really well. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So if you have any more questions, anything regarding the run, anything regarding specific matchups, any other content requests you want regarding Drukhari, if you've got anything you want me to cover, let me know, and I will do my best to recruit either myself or one of the other Archons in the Plus team, of which there are many of us now at this point, and we can get you some more content out, depending on what you want. But thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and join our Discord. Our Discord is great. It's bustling. And it's a pretty good place to be. You can speak with any of us at any point about anything Drukhari you like, or any faction, really. We've got channels for every faction, and keep up to date with all the fun things that we're doing. And please, if you can, become a member. I think it's £2 a month, something like that. If you can, if you've got the means to, we'd really appreciate it. Help us keep delivering you awesome content like this. Until next time, guys, goodbye.